But contributing to open source, the first time I did it again was like very early on this year, during February was when I started contributing to open source.
Hello everyone, welcome to Tech Podcast One on One. Today we have Saatwik Vasishtha. He is a final year student at Manipal Institute, Manipal, and also he is selected for GSOC this year in C2SI organization. Welcome to podcast, Satvik.
Hey, great to meet you.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm great. It's fun. It's great to be here.
Yeah. So currently you are in vacation.
Yeah. So this is my third year ended, and I'm currently in my summer vacations now till the end of July, and then after that I start my fourth year and all the placement stuff and everything.
Yeah, how are you enjoying vacations? I
It's
see
pretty fun.
piano in backside of you.
Yeah. I play the piano sometimes. I also play the guitar as well. I mean, I don't think it's in view, but I mainly play the guitar. The piano is more like in the past.
So how are you enjoying vacations?
Nothing much. Just doing a bunch of. I'm actually not, too overburdened by work right now. So I'm just learning new things. Brushing up on ML, getting ready for TSA prep. Just That's about it actually. Like I think just that stuff.
Also contributing to GSOC. GSOC is started
Yeah.
for you, right? GSOC is started, right? Like you are contributing to
Yeah.
it.
GSOC started on the 27th of last month. So we were essentially in the for beginning of June, we were just merging the OPRs that I had committed initially to during the submission of the proposal phase. Now we're working on some new things.
That's
So
great, sir.
yeah, I
Yeah,
end up working on it about like an hour and a half a day, I think is what it takes for GSOC.
yeah. So let's start with your first question. So why did you join engineering? What is your motivation?
So actually, when I was in 12th grade, my subject lineup was I was in CBSE, and my subject lineup was very different actually. Like unlike other people who end up taking computer science, my fifth subject was not computer science. It was a subject called legal studies, and I had like my during 11th and 12th, my main funda was either go into computer science or go into law as another option, and in engineer I took engineering mainly because I love computers, and like I just love like computer science in general more than anything else. I think if I'm seeing my friends in electrical and other fields, and I know for a fact I would not be excelling at those fields or doing well at those fields because of how difficult the subject is and how like different it is to me compared to computer science. And computer science is something I get a like easy knack for. Like I enjoy doing it, enjoy building things, enjoy like coding in general as well.
So when did you started your coding journey? Is it before engineering?
No, not actually. I mean, like I've coded a bunch. Like I took a bunch of Coursera courses, like one or two before like college started, and I think like I've also worked like a little bit on HTML and like all these school subjects with coding. But my main coding started at the beginning of engineering itself, and I'd started off like I joined college, I found this robotics team called Mars Rover Manipal, and they essentially build a rover. Yeah, so in my first year, I found a robotics club called Mars Rover Manipal, and it's this robotics club that builds like a life-sized rover, and it's about like and we participate in a competition that's hosted by some NASA engineers at Utah at NASA's testing site. So I found that very interesting and intriguing, and I joined the AI and automation subsystem in that. So over there was when I started my major. Like I think the part where you go from like coding just simple, like logic from C++ to like actually implementing some, real life things like image detection and things like that. So I started off with Python and C++ there. And eventually, towards the end of my first year and the beginning of second year was when I started with machine learning, getting into like proper image detection through like machine learning models, then image localization. And then towards, I think, the end of second year was when I was like, okay, I want to start building projects and like showcasing this other than from into like a way other than rovers and other than like, robotics. And that's when I joined, a full stack course. And that's where I started learning like React and a bunch of backend React as well. And to be very honest, like I did have experience with whatever, Python servers and things like that. So like while I didn't know how the front end worked, most of my back end knowledge like Dockerization and things like that was very already like something that I already had experience with. So that's been my coding journey. And I think GSOC so like at the beginning of first year I knew about GSOC, and I was like, okay, some year I'll attempt GSOC. And then I think the past like 2 years I was just like too stacked with other things and all, like always had something going on. And finally this year at the beginning of third year I was like, listen, this is something you really want, so it's something you dreamed of. And you have to like, and like if you don't do it now, there's no point doing it in the fourth year, because like it's too much, there's like a different set of goals you have in your fourth year. So I just decided now is now or never, and I started in contributing. I think around I was very late to contributing as well. I think around February 27th was when I started contributing. And yeah, and eventually I got in, and it's been great ever since. I mean, I think now it's just at the point where like I'm happy with where I am. The GSOC period has like started, and like the coding is going very nicely as well. And like I'm enjoying what I'm doing at GSOC, and I'm also working on like a freelance project at this place called Hypervision. I can't say too much, but I'm working as a full stack developer there as well. And along with that, I'm also doing like a Samsung Prism internship where we're working on tokenization of, efficient tokenization of smart home data and storing it in like vector DBs and things like that. So yeah, it's been going great.
Great, great, Satvik. So, like, can you brief us about like your engineering life from first year to third year? What were the challenges you faced and how did you solve it?
Yeah, so I think it's just a lot of it is just dealing with the balance between, I think, courses and doing extra things outside of the courses. I think it's so like I think computer science is essentially a degree where you like they like courses are very important. Like they teach you like the fundamentals of everything, but also with just courses you're not going to get anywhere where you're going to actually do something in real life. So I think balancing that between like the whole robotics aspect of it, finding time to do machine learning on the side and full stack development, while also focusing on courses and things like that. And it took me quite a while to, I think, get a knack for that as well. Like I think in my first year was when my I was like, oh, the first semester was remote, so that was relatively easy. But then like as soon as I reached college was when I was like doing too many things at once. And the whole idea around, oh, this is like college, we're here for like the first time, where there is no like specific, like you're just very excited and doing things as well. So I think the first 2 semesters after I was back on campus was like academically not good, while I was learning a lot of things, like robotics and things like that. I'd say academically they weren't that great, but eventually it did turn around. And like I've been getting my GPA back up. And it's been I think you just have to find that balance between okay, I need to start a week before exams start, and you need to focus on like internals as well. So like getting that idea of, okay, this is the time I should start, and this is the time where I can focus on other things while I'm no need to focus on coursework at the moment. So I think that's been my journey till now. We'll see, and placements are about to start in August for at the MIT campus. And yeah, right now just preparing for DSA and like getting ready for that placement season and getting sure that I get placed in the first month, I think is essential for me right now. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's great, Satvik. So coming from like starting, you joined robotics club, then you're always aiming for GSOC, and in third year you got GSOC, and you are contributing to open source also.
Yeah. Actually, I think open source contributions, like GSOC was the first contribution I made to open source. Like I've been using a lot of open source software, like, like everything that was related to my robotics project was completely open source. So, like there's this framework called robotics operating system. So that's a framework that most startup robots are like essentially used for communication between like sensors and things like that. So that was completely open source, and almost everything I've used till now is pretty much open source. So, but contributing to open source, the first time I did it again was like like early on this year, during February was when I started contributing to open source actually.
So your first time contributing to open source is during GSOC time.
Yeah, so I think so my first contribution was in February 27th, and I remember that day because I was like very happy that damn, I'm finally doing some sort of contribution. It's like kind of cool. And but before that, there was like a PR I had raised that this other organization called Rocket Chat, and they were like it was like a very small bug where there was like a email address and it was taking spaces with the email address which was not getting recognized. So I'd removed the spaces by just trimming the string. So it wasn't that big of a contribution, but I think that PR is still open even in to this day on that pull request. I mean on that repository. But yeah, I think my first major contribution was to the organization I'm contributing to right now as part of GSOC, and that was on towards the end of.
Yeah. So let's talk about GSOC. So how did you find organization like so I should or contribute to this organization only? Like what is your choice?
Yeah, so I think that was one of my strong suits actually. So as soon as so I was already pretty late to finding organizations. Usually, what people do is they look at the past year organizations and they go over like what projects that they worked on, and usually it turns out to be that the projects that were there last year also have like a project this year. So but for me, I started looking at organizations right after the new organizations came out for GSOC, and I knew that I was already late as well. So I think my main process of finding organization was okay. Like there are three things I'm good at. One is robotics, the other one is full stack development, the other one is ML. So I'm going to find an organization that is dealing with all of these things and or like one of these things, and then I made like a proper Excel sheet, like noted all these organizations down, then gave it like a priority on what I want and what of what I want to do in like at the project itself. And also like I had a metric for go to the repository, find how many PRs there are in that repository to like figure out how many people are contributing to that repository at that point, so I know what the competition is and who I'm competing with as well. So I think that shortlisting process was pretty intense. I think I did that for like almost close to 2 days, where I shortlisted all the organizations that I wanted to contribute for, and in the end, I ended up, I think, with three projects that were one was the one I'm working on, C2SI, and the other one was this thing called CV80, which was by OpenCV. And the other one, I don't exactly remember the organization, but it was dealing with again just image detection of like detection on, I think, paintings or something like that. So those were the three projects I shortlisted, and then like to be very honest, I didn't contribute to anything other than C2SI because I just ended up having almost no time to set up the other projects, and C2SI was going very great because like I was outperforming my competition at that point. So I was pretty certain that if my project were to be selected, I would get into the organization as a part of GSOC.
Yeah, that's great, Satvik. So like you said you chose organization based on your skills like Python, ML, and robotics and all. So also like you said you chose three organizations, C2SI and OpenCV and other one. So like
Yeah.
how many minimum organization we should choose and how should we contribute?
So I think if you were to start off with GSOC, I'd honestly like if you're very certain that so there are like a multiple factors that go into play, right? For example, like you have to first check how big your organization is, in the sense that like all organizations don't end up picking like getting a lot of people for that. GSOC doesn't end up giving every organization like 20 seats or like 25 seats. So I'd say you have you pick based on that as well. For example, if you're contributing to some like a very small organization where there is only like one or two seats, I think you contribute to like two or three organizations in that situation. But if you're contributing to something like a very big organization, which in this case is C2SI, which ended up getting like I think 22 or something projects their into GSOC. So if it's a scenario like that, then I think one organization is more than enough for you to get in. Again, I think what matters more is how many PRs you have in that specific organization rather than picking more organizations. But again, it depends on your set of skills. For example, if you're not exactly decided on, okay, I want to work on like let's say full stack development and some other form of DevOps or something like that, you can pick up two organizations, and on the way, I think you can choose whichever one you want to contribute to. But I think it's very important that you don't, because you're contributing to two, don't even them out, like in the sense that you don't contribute to them equally. Contribute to them to like the maximum capacity that you can for both of them. Just because you're doing two doesn't mean like you have to put in the effort of contributing to one organization, even if you're contributing to multiple organizations.
Yeah, quality contributions is also important.
Yeah, 100%. Contributions are the most important thing, other than like I think proposals, the only other thing that's a little bit more.
So when one should start his or her contributions, like at which time? Before 2 months,
Uh,
3 months?
Yeah, so I think the best scenario would be around January, like where you're like you look at the organizations that were there last year, and then you have shortlisted everything, and then you go to the repository, start solving issues. So odds are they usually have like a Slack channel or a Google Groups channel. So join that, ask around on what they can fix, how that like usually the mentors or like the people working on these projects are very friendly, very open to like contributors, and it's actually a very friendly community. So join around. I'd say join around January, and start off like like first get the project running locally on your system, and then look at the code base, how it's working, what's exactly happening. Then you can look at the issues and eventually start solving them. And I think yeah, January would be the best time to start contributing. But as I said, like I started it towards the end of February, so there's no concept of it. Oh, it's too late. I think only after I think March is when you're like too late to contribute. After when you've submitted your proposal, but I think until you submit your proposal, you can keep contributing to the organization. And even after you submit your proposal, I think a few minor contributions would help as well.
So yeah, some say that like starting from November, December is so good. Like we should start 6 months back. It's too late and all. And we can see that you have started from February and good quality contributions and community development is what you have become now as GSOC selected.
Yeah, 100%. But I mean, I'd say don't go exactly by my what do you say, my achievement, mainly because so like I think towards the end of February I realized, oh, this is I until February I really thought that most people can't start contributing around February, right after the organizations are released, and ended up starting in February. But like, and then I realized, oh, people start contributing way earlier. And I had like in my organization, it was itself, there were like three, four, five contributors who had been fixing issues and things like that. And I realized, oh, I'm pretty late. And I ended up like contributing a lot more than like what, like I'd say like the capacity of it depends on how fast you can contribute and how well you can understand the code base. If you're new to the language, obviously it's going to take quite a while for you to start contributing. But I think definitely do not start that late, because I think odds are you end up, being outmatched by your competition. But I think at the end of the day, I had around like I think 10,000 lines changed in about 10 days of contributing. So there was I was very haphazard and like very late to the process. So definitely start late, but I don't think November, December is like I think a little too early. I think January would be the perfect time for you to like start exploring organizations and picking.
Yeah, 10,000 lines of code like contributions is such a great, Satvik.
Yeah,
So how did you
I was.
manage all this? Like code bases will be very large, right? Like huge code bases. How did you
Yeah.
read them all, set them in locally?
Yeah, so I think I think with so my project deals with so luckily for me, my project deals with machine learning, DevOps, and full stack development. And I had previous machine learning knowledge from the robotics competition. I had previous full stack knowledge from this course I've been taking, and also from and DevOps also again from my robotics thing. So a lot of it was very helpful. So I think I so in the beginning, actually, the project that I was working on, the repository was not working at all, in the sense like their code was had multiple dependency issues, multiple things to start things off. So like I'd say, because the code base was not that great, I had a lot more opportunity to fix things. So like just changing dependencies, like moving from, let's say, React scripts to Byte, which is like um, which is like which people do consider as a major change, but actually, when you look at it, once you understand the full aspect of full stack development, it's very minimal, in the sense that you can switch from things very easily if you know what exactly is happening in the code base. So a lot of it was, I think, because the project was not set up as like any like normal open source project would be set up. Like there were a lot of dependency issues, so I think that led to me contributing a lot more. And as for understanding the code base, like again, I don't think I'm the right person exactly to ask that question, because like I have this like I'm usually just inclined towards understanding things with when it's dealing with code and dealing with like anything related to like these sort of situations. So I'd say it comes to me naturally, but again, I think that's mainly because I've dealt with like a lot of projects before that are big and like have a lot of code in them. So like for example, if I think if you're very new to this, understanding the structure of a project helps a lot. For example, if you know where a component is supposed to be and like it's placed in a folder, and you know the structure of how it's placed in that folder, you can understand, okay, if this component is placed here, then that component has to be placed over there. So and if there is like an ML part of it, where there's an API call that's placed in a specific folder. It's all like most open source projects are structured very well, to the extent where you don't need to actually read through everything to start solving issues. So I think start off with the minor issues. And most repositories also have like a label for beginner friendly issues, and
Good first
medium
issue.
and advanced. Yeah, and so I think start off with those, and eventually you will, I think, start like coding is the most important aspect. Like looking more than, I'd say, reading the code and looking at it, start off going, just look at how the structure is, and then once you know how the structure is, start off with your first issue instead.
Yeah, that's great advice, Satvik, for GSOC, who all are starting with GSOC. So, like, you have managed both these projects, and also you were going to the robotics club, also participating in competitions. So, how did you manage all these things, time management?
I think I think the one thing I recommend to everyone is just have like a checklist every day. It helps a lot, like writing more than like, I'd say don't use your phone for the checklist. Have like a book, because it makes more, I don't know, for me, it makes it more personal. So have a book that has like, okay, there are 5 things I need to complete today. And these are the first 3 of them are most important. So like note down like 5 to 7 things you have to do in a day, and make sure you complete at least 3, 4 of them, regardless of the time. So I do, like, I'm very bad at time management in the sense where I don't work well with timetables. Like I don't like it when I say, okay, 1 hour I'll do this, 1 hour I'll do that. So for me, what works is, okay, set a goal that I'm going to finish this, and then until you finish it, just keep going at it until you're done, and move on to the next one after that. And I think taking proper breaks is also very important. Sleep is also very important. So I mean, I say sleep is important, but for like, I think like most engineers, we sleep at like 1 a.m., wake up at like 9. But I think having that 8 hours, like having a proper schedule for sleeping, helps a lot when you're coding something, or when you're facing a specifically hard bug. Like just if you like move on to something else, then wake up to the next day and you'll probably have a solution again.
Yeah, that's a good advice, Satvik. What time management and how did you manage that? So I think you are good in time management because you have managed to crack GSOC. You're also participating in competitions. You have good resume, projects and all. So yeah, you are good in time management.
I'd say more than time management. I think I'm just good at, like I'd say, like I said, just find a goal that you're really passionate about and like you really want to do, and just go for it. Just finish that completely, and I think that will, you'll end up getting to like a stage where you're having fun while doing the goal as well. And I think having fun is very important. Like you shouldn't think of doing something as like a task. You should just always just think of it as, okay, I want to do this because I'm having fun. And when you're having fun, you don't exactly notice that time going, or like you just end up working when you're even under pressure, or even like, overworked.
Yeah. So I saw your resume, like you have very good projects. Can you brief us about any of your projects?
So I think Arachne was the first, I mean, was the most recent project that I worked on, and it was actually me and one of my friends called Ansh, and we basically worked on this project where, so one of our subjects was parallel programming, and we were learning about CUDA and things like that. So we wanted to implement something that was, using CUDA in the backend. So we ended up starting off small by, we wanted to like make a TensorFlow from scratch, make like find a way to like, at least run linear regression using using our own custom pipe package. So we started off and we built a bunch of projects, and we built a bunch of kernels, which are basically like nodes for running these things on a GPU using C++. Then we realized, oh, okay, people don't want to code in C++. So then we, transported it into a Python API. And once we transported it into a Python API, we were like, well, might as well go the full way. And we made like a web interface for building these models and running them also. So I think that was, again, you have to find something that's you find interesting, and then just build a project on top of it. And then talking about the medical scan one, that was again another project I worked with Ansh as well. And in that, we essentially built a web interface where this was again during college when we have one of our subjects was deep learning, and we were learning all these different architectures for image detection and transformers and things like that. So we were like, okay, we start implementing something small and find uh, brain tumor detection, in the eye when you're fundus image detect like fundus image scanning, and like a bunch of medical applications for a one place all to find all sorts of scan data, and you can upload everything to a web interface and get an output on, okay, if it's a chest scan, then this is what's wrong with you. If it's an eye scan, then this is what could be a potential problem. So that was another project. And as for the Autobot, I think that was just a minor project where I was just like, it was related to my robotics project where we were working on. So what I worked on in AI and automation at Manipal was dealing with the automation of the rover, from which means going from one GPS coordinate to another GPS coordinate, then mapping the whole location place where we're going, finding let's say interesting points of points of interest inside that location, then remembering those points of interests, and then going towards them, then detection of tags and things like that. So I think the other one, the Autobot project, is a sort of different take on it, where you don't have GPS sensors on it, and you have to like completely using sensor fusion, which means your inertial IMU, which shows you where like the direction that you're going at, and also the acceleration at which you're going at, and building a map based on that was the part of that project. And also like a bunch of, I think, image detection was also a part of that project as well.
So these are very good projects, Satvik, and you have like very good understanding of AIML and full stack.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, like if I were to start a new fresh one from AIML, like what is your advice if I am starting from AIML?
Uh, yeah, sure. I think I'd start off. So the thing is, when you're starting off with AIML, when there are two routes. So right now, there's the whole chatbot route where you're like people want to build like something that is a wrapper on top of GPT, which is what most internships and startups are looking for at this moment. If you're going that route, I'd say start off with like a LangChain course, and prompt engineering is a part of it as well. So that is a part of if you're wanting to go the developer route of finding a job at startups and things like that. But if you want to actually understand what's going on with ChatGPT, if you want to understand the underlying architecture behind it, you have to like it's a lot of ground. You have to start off with first linear regression, then logistic regression, and I think the best course for this would be you essentially start off with Andrew Ng's. There's a course on Coursera by Andrew Ng, who is like a renowned, machine learning. Like he's a teacher at he was a teacher at Stanford,
Yeah,
and he's the one teaching the course. And the first course would be the machine learning course, where you learn very basic linear regression, logistic, SVMs, and KNNs and things like that. And then you move on to the deep learning course, where you actually learn about CNNs and image detection, text detection, NLP, and things like that. So this is going to be like a long process. Both of them are long courses, but I think you have to finish them to actually have like a fundamental idea of what's going on. And then once you're done with that, I think you can. And again, while you're doing these courses, make sure that there are. So in the courses, only they mention a bunch of research papers that are implementing that were at that time implementing like state of the art technology. So I think reading those research papers are very important as is very important when you're learning ML as well, because most new research even now is like always on a research paper, which first got introduced. Like even GPT again is a research paper as well based on transformers. And I think start off with like you have to read all these minor small research papers before you move on to something big like transformers and understanding the underlying architecture of transformers. And it's very hard because like once you CNNs are pretty easy, but once you go into like complicated architectures, you have to go through these things like multiple times. You have to go back and build things again. And I think for implementation, pick TensorFlow or PyTorch or whatever is, I'd say, your choices. Like again, up to you. But start implementing these research papers on using TensorFlow. Even the course has a bunch of notebooks and assignments. Do those well and understand more than completing the assignments. I think it's very important to understand the notebook and understand everything that's going on in the notebook, rather than just okay, I just have to convert this to this, because the assignments are pretty easy. But I'd say go through the assignments properly and understand every single cell of that Jupyter notebook to start off. And I think if you're going towards like properly understanding GPT and building GPT, there's I think I'm not exactly sure about the person, but on YouTube there's a 2 hour, 3 hour video on let's build GPT from scratch, and that's a very good introduction to building something like ChatGPT like completely from scratch. And it's a long video, and even that video you'll have to watch like 5 to 6 times to like understand what exactly is going on. And it's a very complicated math intensive task. And but yeah, I think after that, I think you're like after the deep learning course itself, you'd have a pretty good understanding of machine learning, core machine learning. But yeah, and that's I think the journey that I would take now. And But again, if you're going towards prompt engineering and chat, like building on top a wrapper on top of GPT, there's like another whole segment on that. You have to go to LangChain and things like that, where you don't really need too much of a understanding of the math and the core aspects of how GPT works or how a machine works.
Yeah, Satvik. So there is one doubt in students that I am weak in maths. Can I get into AML?
Yeah, I mean, again, week is like a different. I'd say week would just mean you take more time to understand, but the very honest truth is math from AIML, at least until you reach transformers, isn't too complicated. It's just like a small bit of linear algebra where if you don't understand linear algebra, which is one of the most important aspects, and matrices, I'd say there's this course by Three Blue One Brown, who's again MIT. He teaches a course at MIT, and he has great visualizations. And that playlist, there's a playlist by Three Blue One Brown on YouTube which teaches linear algebra. And I'd say if you're weak at linear algebra, go start off with that, and you'll understand the fundamentals of linear algebra. And with the course itself, maybe not like I think going over these small, like the notations look very complicated, but if you understand them properly and like go over them like 3 4 times, you'll realize it's just like a normal linear equation with like ax plus by is equal to c. Like it's as simple as that, but like maybe 1 or 2 steps higher. And if you're weak at maths, it's just a matter of time. Eventually, you'll be, if you do enough and if you understand, if you go over things enough, you'll end up understanding.
Yeah, that's good advice, Satvik. So, like coming to GSOC again, like what was your proposal? Like, should we add resume and how many pages should proposal be?
No, my proposal didn't have my resume on it. It was so my proposal was around 13, 11, I think 12 to 13 pages long, and it was essentially an explanation of they. So most organizations give you like a template for how your proposal should look. So depending on your organization, you might have to submit your resume or things like that. And from what I've heard from my mentor, there are some organizations that end up picking people that are from a specific college or some sort of stigma on, okay, people from this college get people from like tier ones, tier twos, tier threes get picked over tier threes and things like that. So that is, I think, a factor in some organizations, but again, it's a very small factor, and you shouldn't think of it at all, because honest to God, like it depends completely on your contributions. Like 95% of what you've done depends on how you've interacted with the mentor, the number of contributions, and the number of contributions you've done. For me, my proposal format usually was just like a few introduction questions on where you're studying, what you're doing, what you're working on, and things like that, and then more in depth. That was like 1 page or maybe 2 pages, and after that was just a description of all my pull requests that I've opened and how I implemented this and how I implemented that. So for me, it was like, I think uh, I'd say my proposal was essentially like an explanation of what I'd done in the past month or so. And I think explaining it well is very important to the people, as they like the proposal is just a way for them to gauge how well you understand your own contributions and what it leads to in the future. So make sure your contribution sort of has a goal in mind. So and that goal might just be like a goal that they have set in that project itself. So whenever projects are released, they have a set of deliverables. So put in those deliverables. Make sure you put in those deliverables as well. And obviously, this is not the same if you're talking about a new project that you want to propose. But if it's the same project that you're applying for, I think you put in those deliverables and then add on top of it, and don't suggest something that is like against the direction of those deliverables. Like for example, if they want to move to Postgres, don't suggest something like, okay, no, I want to move to MongoDB. So like don't suggest changes that are, that you would think are better when they're specifically telling you, okay, no, we think this is the direction that we want the project to.
Yeah. That's good advice, Sadhvik. Like how one should prepare his proposal and how one should not advise them for changing of any tech stack and all.
Yeah.
So like if you want to say any one piece of advice for your juniors, what it should one piece of
Uh,
advice for your
I think
juniors.
just love to code. I think that's the most important thing. Like just like love engineering and love the process of making new things and building new things, and you'll eventually get to a stage where you know uh, the job will eventually come. That salary that you're wanting is going to eventually come. I mean, again, even me, I don't have like a after GSOC. There's my placements are still yet to come. So I don't know, but the thing is, I enjoy how coding, and I know for a fact that eventually that because I'm like at least I think that I'm good at what I do, you'll eventually end up at the place that you want to be. So I think the most important thing is code, love to code and love to build things, and that's the advice I'd say.
Yeah, just build things and don't worry about the factor like if it is success or failure. Just build.
Yeah, exactly. And failure only means you're going to start something new, which will eventually turn into it.
Yeah, that's great, Satvik. So coming to our last question, that is, what do you think about this podcast, tech podcast one?
I haven't. So I watched, I think, one or two other podcasts, and they were great. And I think it's a great way to introduce someone to some, for people to understand how things go on in the GSOC and background. Because I think when I was going through GSOC, there was like I had to go through like 15,000 videos on, oh, this is better, oh, that is better, and it's just great to have like someone like for me who's been selected for GSOC, right? Like someone went there like if they're getting into placements. So someone who's been selected, let's say into like a fan company or something like that. So it's always great to hear from someone who has actually done it and get that reassurance and okay, you did it that way. So if I follow some parts of what you're doing, maybe I'll get there too. So I think it's a very great podcast to like enlighten people on how people got there and find their own way getting there.
Thank you so much, Satvik. All the best for your placements and your future. Thank you for
Thank you
joining
so
us.
much. Thank you so much for having me.